guys, welcome to day, what is this, 13? Day 13 of the Love Dare. This is Autumn and Ross Whitted here, and we are headed to Fort Worth to get some pictures taken. So we wanted to go ahead and make our video while we're in the car. And so today we're talking about Love Fights Fair. And this one it was really good for both of us because I think for any couple really, because let's just be real, like the whole reason we're doing this is obviously because we couldn't seem to get it together on our own and couldn't seem to figure out a way to fight fair. And so this one was really awesome for us, and it came with some really good tips and tools to use to help control those fights and really just keep them reasonable and just safe. So I'm going to go over some of that and just kind of talk about what we have been doing and kind of what our problem is with fighting and what it is that we really struggle with the most when we have conflict. So do you want to start with saying anything, or do you want me to just go into it?
Hey guys, you can go for it.
Okay, so since he's driving, I'll do most of the talking. So basically, it starts with the verse, Mark 3:25, which says, "If a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand." And so basically what that means is if we are divided against each other, we're not going to make it. Obviously, there's no foundation there that's keeping us together. So it's just really hitting on the conflict in marriage and how it's inevitable. It's going to happen no matter what, because we're all imperfect people, and it's just when you're with someone all the time, you just learn more things about them that you didn't necessarily realize that were there whenever you married them or started dating them. And so it's kind of like just surprises and stuff. But one thing that we both agree on, that we feel like what we struggle with, is we're both very unconfrontational. We don't like to fight, and so because of that, we really just sometimes tend to just scoop things under the rug and act like they don't exist. Or we might get into an argument and it doesn't ever go anywhere, because we'll get really mad. It'll be like a 5-minute argument where we're just like really pissed off, and then we kind of just let it go, and then it never gets brought up again. But then every time another fight gets brought up, that last fight gets brought into it, and so it just kind of builds onto each other. And so what this gave us today was some tools to be able to handle that, and just some exercises. And so the first one was they suggest to set boundaries called the we boundaries and the me boundaries. And so I'm just going to read what those are really quickly. So we boundaries are rules that you both agree on beforehand that apply during any fight or altercation. And so here are some examples of the we boundaries, which we just decided that we're going to implement these into our relationship. We will never mention divorce, and that's a huge one, because I know that's been my go-to several times throughout the last 2 years that we've been married. And I think it's important to just go ahead and establish it now that like that word does not get brought up. We don't use that word. That's not an option. That we just act like divorce is not even a thing. And so, sorry, I keep losing my spot. We will not bring up old unrelated items from the past. And ladies, if any of y'all are like me, I tend to always bring up the past and use that as my excuse for my trust issues or whatever it may be. But I know I have to let that go and just move on, just get over it. And so you need to do that too if you have that problem. We will never fight in public or in front of our children. That one is huge, which I feel like we're really already, we really don't fight in public at all, because that's just not really either one of our personalities, and we don't really like to draw that kind of attention to ourselves. but we have fought in front of our daughter, and I do know how bad that affects her, just because we both grew up with fighting parents, obviously, and divorces and all that, so it's not really fair to our kids to have to see that, so we need to be considerate. And I know it's hard because a lot of times it's just something happens and we fly off the handle, but we need to start being more aware and conscious of what we're doing and saying in front of our kids. We will call a timeout if the conflict escalates to a damaging level, and so, which we really haven't had issues with that, but we will never touch one another in a harmful way. There have been times that we probably have wanted to do that, but it hasn't gotten to that point. But that's definitely a boundary that I feel like we already kind of have established. And so I know that, like, for me personally, whenever I know and I can tell that he's getting really, really upset, that I'm usually pretty good about just biting my tongue and not saying anything that I know is going to send him over the edge, just because I know that men have a lot more anger than women usually. And so we will never go to bed angry with one another, which obviously we've done that a billion times, and so that's something we're going to have to work on. And then failure is not an option. Whatever it takes, this is going to work out. And I feel like that's really what we've pretty much decided. We've decided that a long time ago, but then things start to happen, life starts to happen, and you kind of forget that was the ultimate goal. But we know that for sure. We're doing this, so we know for sure that that's just not going to be an option for us anymore. So some of the me boundaries are going to be rules that you personally practice on your own. And so here are some effective ones. Is I will listen first before speaking. And the verse that they gave is James 1:19, which is, everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And just remember that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's not 2 mouths and 1 ear. So obviously God has intended us to listen a lot more than we talk. So another one is, I will deal with my own issues up front. And the verse is Matthew 7:3. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye but not notice the log that's in your own eye? So it's really easy in a relationship to just always be blaming the other spouse and nitpicking everything that he does and why it's all his fault that we have problems, when all reality, I know what I do, and I know that it takes 2 for anything to happen, whether good or bad. And so yeah, that one, basically you just need to humble yourself and realize, like, hey, you have some issues as well. You're kind of screwed up in the head just as much as they are. And then I will speak gently and keep my voice down. And the verse is Proverbs 15:1, and it says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So we need to be really aware of what we're saying and speaking to our spouse, because it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not, or if it's in the heat of the moment or not, but like all those things that you say to each other really does affect one another, whether we think it does or not. It does. And so the last thing I'm gonna leave y'all with is that people tend to mirror each other in a fight. And so the more intense one person gets, the more intense the other one's gonna get. But the more calm and humble and gentle one person starts to get, that's how the other one will react as well. Because it's kind of hard to want to blow up at somebody whenever they're speaking softly and being just reasonable. And so fighting fair just means changing your weapons, disagreeing with dignity, building a bridge instead of burning one down. Love is not a fight, but it is always worth fighting for. And so today's dare was about establishing the healthy rules of engagement, and so that's what we just basically talked about, is what those are all going to be, our healthy rules of engagement and the boundaries that we're not going to cross. You have anything you want to add?
I think you hit it on the point, and for the guys out there, it's these things are really important to implement into your relationship, because in the heat of the battle, things can be said, and the last thing you want to do is fly off the handle and do something that you can't take back. And at the end of the day, you know, if you have everything else established, like, you know, we're not going to bring up the D word, and we're gonna stick this out and work on our marriage and make it work, then you should never do anything to harm that. And I know it gets hard sometimes, but just remember that the next conflict you come across with your spouse, remember these things, because, you know, it only takes one time, and you know, we see it all the time with right now in the world with NFL athletes and athletes, you know, that gets brought to the forefront, but really it's happening all over, and you can't go down that road. You can't do it. So you know, that's kind of what I want to leave you with, but you hit it on the head, babe.
Thanks, babe. All right, guys. Well, happy Friday, and we will talk to y'all tomorrow. And I don't think that video from yesterday got uploaded. For some reason, my internet wasn't working when I was at my grandma's, so I'm gonna be posting that one tonight as well. So anyways, we will talk to y'all soon. Bye.